It's official, the software world is becoming a big joke. A few days ago, somebody vibe coded a simple WebVesta board simulator and then tried to sell it for $199. Then, another developer used Claude to build the exact same app in just a few minutes and open sourced the whole project. In the meantime, Copilot is quietly adding ads to your PR requests, making 2026 the year when we'll probably start seeing ads for Coke, Pepsi, and lonely women near you when running npm install. Meanwhile, Claude open sources its agent code by mistake, and the web dev world has one of the biggest security incidents in history. Things are moving so fast these days that I need to post a bonus Monday morning review on Friday evening just to keep up with the news. It turns out that AI agents and code generation are really useful tools, but the consequences of lowering the barrier of entry when building software are even more concerning than some people want to admit. For the past few months, my comment section was filled with people gladly announcing the death of the software developer. And, while I understand the frustration some people might feel when they see those dystopian day-in-a-life videos where developers are spending their office time drinking coffees, eating free lunches and playing on PlayStations, it was always kind of weird to see people celebrating the death of an industry. What I realized in the last few weeks is that there are a lot of non-technical people who saw coding as the main barrier between their idea and a billion-dollar successful startup. And now, because it looks like this barrier is gone, even though it isn't, everyone assumes that the hard part is solved, and they are excited they don't need to pay some technical geek with no social skills to bring their vision to life. But, as I said in a previous video, the next few months will be full of stories titled "Shocked Pikachu finds out nobody cares about his idea and his half-baked vibe-coded app." Take for instance the VistaBoard clone situation. The project has a few hundred lines of code at most, and you could probably build it from scratch with no AI assistance in just a couple of hours. It's a nice little weekend project and nothing more. But now the software space is invaded by these wannabe solopreneurs who think shipping a toy app with a Stripe button is the same thing as building a business. And the $200 price tag for this small app shows how delusional this whole thing is becoming. I get the feeling that the same people who were chasing easy profits in the crypto market are now coming over into the SaaS and micro-SaaS world, so the entire software market will be inundated with low-effort products pretending to be businesses. And all you have to do is give them an email, a password, and preferably your credit card. There is this statistic that I like to quote when it comes to the next few years in the software world. The App Store and Play Store combined have around 5 to 6 million apps in total. 90% of these apps get fewer than 1,000 downloads, and a huge portion of them get near zero usage after install. What's more important is that roughly the top 1% of apps generate 90% of all revenue. And the same pattern shows up even more brutally in gaming. There are more than 125,000 games published on Steam, with more than 10,000 new games added annually. The median game makes less than $1,000 in its entire lifetime, while the top 1% of games on Steam capture somewhere between 70 and 80% of all revenue. And keep in mind, this is a market that has been maturing for decades, with established genres, known distribution channels, and a massive existing audience. Now, imagine what happens when you flood that same kind of market with vibe-coded software built by people who watch 3 YouTube videos about passive income. The same technology that was supposed to democratize software development is about to create the most overcrowded, lowest quality software market in history. We went from 10x developers to 0.1x products, and somehow everyone is celebrating this as progress. And trust me, I am not trying to gatekeep software development. I genuinely believe that more people building things is a net positive, but there is a massive difference between building something valuable and trying to exploit a shortcut that doesn't really exist. A few months ago, somebody was announcing on Reddit a new ship fast, abandon faster era where software companies are trading user trust for speed. With the friction of generating barely working prototypes almost gone, the new strategy is to build something quickly, push it out, collect whatever attention or money you can, and then disappear the moment things get inconvenient. I won't lie, overall, I am pretty concerned about the future of our career. I don't think it'll disappear, but there is a big chance we'll be forced to move up the abstraction layer and work more with generated code. However, now more than ever, I strongly believe that in this world of cheap software products, skills and quality will matter so much more. And here is both your awesome trivia and your awesome recommendation for the day. Since I mentioned successful Steam games, Celeste is by far one of the best examples of what happens when someone actually cares about what they're building. The developers spent a significant amount of time on controls and movement to make them feel tight, responsive, and precise because they thought controls are an important part of any precision platformer. So the team chose not to use a standard physics engine like Unity or Unreal, and instead coded their own movement system from scratch to predetermine exactly how the character would act in every situation. If you are not familiar with game development, game engines like Unity have built-in movement and physics systems you can use, so you do not have to reinvent everything yourself. And these pre-built solutions would be more than enough if you wanted to build just another platformer with no real unique selling point. But the Celeste developers understood the value of quality, and they knew that movement was an important part of the gaming experience. So they iterated and refined the movement through continuous playtesting and tweaking of variables such as acceleration, deceleration, and friction. On top of that, they added hidden, subtle systems like coyote time, jump buffering, and corner correction to make difficult controls feel fairer and more forgiving. All this work has paid off since Celeste sold around 9 million copies while generating more than $150 million, and its tight control system made the game a candidate for speedrunning, where players push mechanics to their absolute limits. And that is the entire point. Nobody cares how fast the developers shipped Celeste. Nobody cares whether they used AI, a game engine, or wrote everything in assembly. What people care about is how the game feels when they play it. Back to the video, while you can build a working app in a weekend now, here is the thing nobody tells you when they're selling you the dream of becoming a solopreneur in 30 days using AI. Users are not getting dumber. If anything, they are getting more impatient, more skeptical, and less forgiving. They have seen enough half-baked apps and enough subscription traps, so their tolerance for low-quality software is basically at zero. OpenAI's Sora experiment is the living proof of exactly this. They launched it with some of the most impressive demo videos the internet had ever seen. People were calling it the end of filmmaking, the end of stock footage, and the end of visual media as we know it. And then, real users got access to it, and the gap between the demo and the product was so massive that it became a meme. A few months later, the entire project was closed. What's more fascinating is that there's an entire economy forming around selling people the vibe coding dream. Of course, selling shovels in a gold rush was always the smarter business. The money in vibe coding right now is in the YouTube channels, the newsletters, and the courses teaching you how to build software with no skills required. And the real money, of course, is in selling those compute tokens used to build yet another recycled idea. So where does all this leave the real software engineers? Well, I would argue that we are in a better place than ever. More businesses will move online, and a lot more software will be either built or generated, and in this world full of noise and slop products, the main differentiator will be skill and quality. But we are still in danger. There is a lot of talk online about the real dangers of AI in software, and especially the skills you might lose when you rely too much on AI to do the actual thinking. Things get even worse when you blindly trust these tools because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you might find yourself unwillingly pushing ads into your codebase without even realizing. So, with millions of lines of code generated daily, and with a huge number of new people joining the industry with little to no actual technical knowledge, I think we'll have a lot of WTF moments in the next couple of years. If you like this video, you should consider joining our community where I'm posting more dedicated weekly content. Please don't forget to smash all the buttons, and until next time, thank you for watching.